Hi, Digestives. Welcome to Crimes Digested, where we try to digest senseless crimes. Today's story is a little interesting. I feel like I say that about every story, but it really is interesting because the psychology behind this story, I'm telling you, it takes a strong person to try to digest and understand this person. Did you know that on average, about 1% out of every 450 to 500 persons become pregnant within the first 20 weeks of pregnancy without knowing? And on that same note, about 1 out of every 2,500 can get pregnant without knowing until like the end of term, right? And it's interesting because I've heard so many stories where someone gets pregnant and nobody knows they're pregnant. They don't know they're pregnant until it's time to give birth, and they're looking down and they're like, what the is going on? I just thought it was a normal thing. I thought that this happens almost all the time. But as I looked into it, I'm like, it's a pretty unique experience. Granted, there are about 8 billion people, so that's a big number, right? But it's pretty unique. How often you hear it feels like it's almost regularly. And a lot of things can affect this. It can be like irregular periods. Some people, if they're obese, they might not notice that they're pregnant because they're already pretty large. Some people, it can just be if they're on birth control, they don't know that they're pregnant because they're not having their periods and they're not showing. And so they can be pregnant, have a kid before they even know they're pregnant. The people involved into this story, their identity have not been revealed, and it's not gonna probably ever be revealed just because there's a minor involved, and it's to protect the minor's privacy. So the first person, I'm gonna name her Catherine. She's, I guess, the antagonist of the story, and she was pregnant and she didn't even know she was pregnant. One day she says she goes to the bathroom and she's in pain. She's in extreme pain. She finds out she's pregnant. So what does she do? She gets in the tub, squats down, and she pops out a beautiful baby girl. To other people, this is an amazing news, okay? You find out that you have a child, it's an amazing news. To her, this was the worst misfortune that could possibly happen to a human being. We're gonna call the baby Ruth. Baby Ruth was born in March of 2020, and her mother wasn't happy to find out that she was pregnant, let alone to know that the baby is at full term. Like, if it was a little sooner, maybe she might have had other options, but it's too late now. She has a baby girl that she cannot have anybody knowing she's pregnant. You would think that she's a teenager that just found out she was pregnant and doesn't want her parents to know. But no, she's a grown woman with other kids. So why is she so concerned about anybody finding out she has this baby? She hides the baby for 3 years, from 2020, March of 2020 to February of 2023. She hides the baby in a little drawer in her bedroom. So she has this divan bed. I don't know if it's like divan or divan. I will show you guys like a picture of it. But she has a bed that has a drawer. And in the drawer, she lays down a towel, places the baby in that drawer, and closes the drawer. Within that 3 years time period, she would go in once in a while to check on the baby. She'll change her diapers. When she needs her diapers changed, she'll feed her some like milky cereal, and then she'll leave the child alone. And this went on, like I said, for 3 years. Like, just a couple weeks before her 3rd birthday, she had a visitor. She was starting to see this guy, and she didn't want the guy to know about the baby. So once things started getting to the point where her new man was coming over to her house very frequently, she decided she needs to change the kid's location. And what better way to do that? She was going to move the child to another room whenever he came over. And she made it a point to make sure that he never goes upstairs alone. If this was an African movie, you would have thought she was part of the Illuminati and she was making money in one of the rooms or something. The Africans know what I mean. However, that's not what's happening. She's hiding a whole human being upstairs in the room and she doesn't want anybody to find out about the kid. So one day, this lover comes over. We're gonna call him James. Okay, James comes to visit Catherine, and they were gonna go out. In her rush, she leaves her key in the door. And James needed to use the restroom. He didn't feel the need to be like, hey, Catherine, can you walk me upstairs to the bedroom so I can use the latrine? He didn't feel the need to do that. He was just like, okay, well, I'm just gonna go in, use the latrine really quick, and then come back out. He walks in, walks past this room, and he hears a sound. And it sounds like a baby, which is strange because there shouldn't be any babies in the house. He's visiting his girlfriend, well, at least someone he thought was his girlfriend, and she didn't have a child that was a baby's age. So he puts his head in to see what's going on. He's continuously hearing the sound, and it's coming from such a very strange place. The bed, or rather, inside of the bed. So he walks in, approaches the bed, and it's this giant bed, just this tall bed. He walks over, reaches down, opens one of the drawers, and in there is baby Ruth. Like any normal human being, James became scared. He was terrified. Like I said, if this was an African home, you would think this girl's making money with this baby. I don't know whose baby it is. I don't know how the baby got in here, but she must be making money with this baby. Or she's crazy. She's completely crazy. She's unhinged. So he dips, okay? He runs out of there. Like, I don't even know. Like, he had a bear following him or like a lion chasing him or something. He runs out of there and he calls his mom. He's like, hey, mom, the girl that I'm seeing, something very strange happened. I went over to her house and there was a baby in her drawer. So the mom, confused, rightfully so, and probably concerned, she calls Jim's girlfriend, Catherine's mother. And she's like, hey, my son just called me about the damnedest thing. He's saying that there's something weird going on in your daughter's home. So the mother, alarms being raised, bells going off, she decided she was gonna call like the police. So the police get called and they send child protective services to the house. The lady walked in and she talks to Catherine. She explains to Catherine what's going on, why she's there, and she starts asking Catherine if she can show her to the room. Catherine cooperates. Like, there was no sign of distress, no sign of animosity, nothing. It looked like she had a friend come to visit and ask her if she can show her around the house. Like, can you give me a tour of your house? She shows her to the bedroom, and the child protective service worker that went, she said when she walked in, the bed was so tall that she couldn't see anything. So then Catherine walks over to the other side of the bed, and she followed behind Catherine to go to the other side of the bed. And there in front of her, sitting in the drawer, was baby Ruth in like a soothing position, just rocking back and forth, just self-soothing. And she said it was the most horrific thing that she's ever seen. Like, she's been working with child protective services for years now, since 2006. And in 2023, it's been over decades. She has never encountered a situation as horrendous as this. And she turns to look at Catherine and she asks her, is this where she's been like staying? Is this where you keep her? Catherine looks at her and just without a beat goes, yes, in the drawer. So she asks her, has she seen anybody other than you? Like, has anybody else seen her? She goes, no. Just like with such a blasé attitude that the child protective service worker was just so taken aback. She was so horrified because baby Ruth looked like, I don't even know how to describe it. They say that she had matted hair and she was so malnourished. You can tell she was dehydrated, malnourished, had medical complications because she had like a cleft lip and palate. She looked like she needed medical care the day she was born. And here we are in 2023 with her laying down there and seemingly never been cared for. So she gets booked. I mean, it only makes sense. And she gets taken to the Chester Crown Court. The police start questioning her, trying to figure out her motive. Like, what exactly caused her to do what she did to this child? And she tells them, well, if you have to know, I was in an abusive relationship. She goes on to explain that her and the child's father were in a very tumultuous and violent relationship, and she was afraid to let him know that she was pregnant. She didn't want him to know that she was pregnant because she felt like if he knew that she was pregnant, he's probably going to stay her life, right? So she didn't want him to find out. And she decided, since nobody knew that she was pregnant anyways, she was going to keep it a secret, hide it from anybody and everybody that could possibly have any involvement in the child's life, and just keep pushing. So she will go up frequently to check on the kid. And she told them, listen, let me make one thing clear, okay? She was not always in there. Like, she wasn't always in the drawer. I didn't close her in there like all the time. I made sure to check on her and make sure that she was okay. But according to medical examiners, that child was unkept, malnourished, dehydrated, had a floppy limb. Basically, her muscles or her joints were not formed properly. So she was just, her limbs had no strength in them, had swollen abdomen. She just has so many medical issues that it's impossible for someone to see her and think this is like a healthy 3-year-old. And when they did further examination, they found out that she was not able to walk. She couldn't crawl. She couldn't make any communicative like sound. Usually kids by 3, they're able to tell you, I'm thirsty, at least. She couldn't even make sound. She was almost scared of adults, it feels like. Like, she did not want anyone to approach her. She would curl up and just make self-soothing, like, rock emotions. This was not a 3-year-old. Her mental development was so delayed that she was operating at the level of a 0 to 10-month-old instead of a 35-month-old child. And it's clear that this was due to neglect because just 2 weeks after she was taken to a hospital and left in like a better environment and people that are able to take better care of her, she started communicating. She started depending on adults for comfort instead of self-soothing. She started acting like a child her age. So during court on October 9th of 2024, she finally, Catherine, pleaded guilty to 4 counts of child cruelty. And during the court session, the senior prosecutor, Rachel Worthington, she explained to the jurors or anybody in court, she tells them that this child was subjected to such extreme like neglect that she's never had any normal interaction with anybody, not even her siblings. She's never had a Christmas present. She's never even seen the outside world. She has been left to fend for herself. And when the mom would go to like work, they would leave her alone in the house. She would take the kids to school, they would leave her alone in the house. Even on Christmas, they would go to relatives' houses for the holiday and they will leave this child in the house. And you know what? The audacity of her and her like defense attorney to come to court and have her trying to get people to pity her and saying stuff like she has had her kids taken from her because of this whole situation, and she's really upset, like she's crying, she's bawling out, and she's saying that her kids were taken from her, the other kids were taken from her, and that baby Ruth was never a part of the family. The audacity of her to say that befuddles me. Okay, I'm actually really shocked. I was really shocked when I read that part. I was like do you understand the amount of audacity? I can't even think of another word. The amount of gall you have to stand in front of people and say something like that you miss your other kids that were taken from you because of this situation. You mean because of your neglect of your child? Like, what? So anyway, the foster parents that are currently taking care of baby Ruth, they have expressed just how quickly she's like developing now that she's getting better care. She's able to do a lot of firsts with them. You know, she's able to go on a swing and she's learning how to smile, like the basic things. But how can you know how to do something like that when no one's ever done it for you? It's like, how do you know how to love when you've never experienced love, right? So they're saying that she's now getting better, and with time, she's gonna continue getting better. And they've had a couple surgeries to fix the cleft lip and palate, but she's still going to need a lot of medical care. And not only that, mental care too, to treat her trauma. On November 26th of 2024, Catherine was sentenced to 7 years and 6 months in prison. 7 years and 6 months. That's it. Just 7 years, 6 months for a crime that was almost on par to killing. If that child wasn't found, she would have passed. There is no question about it. At the rate and at the state that she was in, she would have passed. And a lot of people I saw online, a lot of people were wondering, why not change the kid's name and have like the mom revealed to the public, because they're not letting us know the mom's name to protect the child's identity, and the child is no longer in her care, right? So like a lot of people are upset about the fact that they're hiding her identity, when it's not like the kid is gonna go back to her and someone's gonna see her and be like, are you that kid that, you know, all of these things happened to? So a lot of people were wondering that, which I kind of see the point, and I do feel like a part of me does want her to be made public, because 7.5 years, that's nothing. She's gonna go in there, come back out. At the time she comes out, baby Ruth is gonna be like what, 10, 11 years old, and I don't think it's fair for that child to have been through so much and the trauma of it all. She's still going to have to heal from the trauma. And this woman is going to be out and about. It doesn't seem like she's so old that her life is going to be that affected in 7.5 years, you know? So she's still going to probably be pretty young. She's going to be out there free. And I don't know. I agree with that statement on one hand, but then on the other hand, there are a lot of people who believe that the mom may have had some mental health issues. And if that's the case, maybe that's why her sentencing was so lenient, because if this is the case, they might want to kind of go a little light on her, because she did cite the abuse from her previous relationship with the child's father. So a lot of people believe that if that's true, then that may be why they were being so lenient, because they want her to get the help and like assistance that she might require to get treatment, right? Which I understand. Seriously, I really do, right? And I can see both sides of the conversation, but I do wonder, why not just have the kid change their name, change the child's name, let people know who this woman is, because if she did this once, who's to say she won't do it again? And maybe next time we won't even know about it. We won't find out until it's too late. But again, I do see the other side of the coin of protecting her. If there is a reason or a purpose behind them being so lenient, I can understand that as well. Doesn't mean we have to love it, but I can understand. But the senior prosecutor, Rachel Worthington, she continued and she says, "This case has shocked us all. After reading the evidence, I had to take myself away and try and process what I had read. I am a mother myself and simply couldn't comprehend what this defendant had done or why. The motives behind the mother's behavior is still not clear, but that is not the role of the Crown Prosecution Service. Our job is to bring the person responsible to justice, and that has now been done. And it is the profound hope of the CPS that the victim in this case recovers sufficiently to live a full life as possible." But yeah, so if you go and expose her identity, you might go to prison. I would not recommend anybody to look into her identity, because they're taking it very seriously. And I respect it. Even though I don't love it, I do respect it, because this is for the kid. At the end of the day, it's for the child. And what can you say? What can you do? What can you say? But a lot of people were very disgruntled with the fact that she's only getting 7 years, 7.5 years, and that's it. And I don't know. I don't know. I want to know in the comments what your thoughts are. Do you guys feel like she had a light sentence? Do you feel like this was just a slap on the wrist? Or do you think this was a sufficient amount of time for her to reflect on her life and repent of her deeds? I want to know what you guys' thoughts are in the comments, and let me know if there's any case you want me to cover. And I'm gonna leave this right here. I don't have too much to say about this case, honestly. I feel like I'm just gonna keep it to myself. Because I'm not happy about it, for sure. I don't know. Like, there's too many instances where parents neglect have caused their children to suffer so much. But I don't have a kid. I only have nephews and nieces, so I can only speak on the spectrum of my love and affection for them. I cannot say this is wrong and this is right with like such conviction, but we all know what's wrong and what's right. And I feel like this was just wrong. Like a minimum 20 years. If that's why I'm not a judge. I'll just be handing them out. I'll be like, 20 years. You get 20, you get 20, you get 20, you get 30. But I'm not a judge. So anything I say is like, you know? Anyways, I'm so glad that you guys hung out with me all the way to this point. If you did, please hit that like button, subscribe to my channel so you can come find me again next time. And I hope you take care of yourselves. If you're pregnant and you don't know that you're pregnant, go get medical care, okay? Go to the hospital, get care, and probably go get test it right now. If you know you've been doing the nasty and you don't know and you're not sure, go get tested, okay? Don't be like Catherine. Don't get in trouble, all right? If you need help because of an abusive partner, get help. Don't let it end up affecting you and causing you to do something that you know is wrong. Because we all know, for the most part, what is wrong and what is right. Unless you have some mental defect, which I doubt you guys do. Anyways, I will see you in the next video. Until then, stay safe and take care of yourselves. Bye. Mwah.